Dhanyavad Maharaj.
Janardan.
Dhanyavad Maharaj.
Dhanyavad. Auguni. And how are we all today?
Oh, tickety boo.
What's that?
Tickety boo.
Oh.
Dhanyavad Maharaj.
Dhanyavad.
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 Dhanyavad Devashis Prabhu. Dhanyavad to everyone.
Dhanyavad Saraswati.
Dhanyavad.
Dhanyavad. We're all praying today for Saraswati's mother, Flor Maria Contreras, who passed away at the beginning of September. Nuestras oraciones contigo, Saraswati, para tu madre querida, quien falleció a principio de septiembre, ¿no?
Dhanyavad Gurudev. Dhanyavad Maharaj.
Ah. Espero que no me están hablando mientras que manejas ese carro nuevo.
Estoy llevando a Nityananda a la vacuna.
A la vacuna. Ah, qué bien.
Ayer le tocó a Kamalini, hoy le toca a Nityananda. Y Shani la semana pasada.
Y con el Pfizer. Con el Pfizer.
Moderna.
Moderna. Okay.
¿Usted cuál le tocó?
Moderna.
Ah,
¿Y
bueno.
cuál tomaste tú? Pitambar.
Sí,
¿Cuál tuviste tú?
Pfizer.
Pfizer. Oh. Okay. ¿Están en Guadalajara?
Sí, llegando al lugar de la vacunación.
Ah, okay.
En Zapopan.
Dhanyavad to all the devotees of the English Yatra. Okay. Dhanyavad. Lavanya Mai.
En español, es en inglés. Mira, tú vas.
Lavanya, you're on your side.
Yeah, it's because I'm putting the fan on top of the kettle. It's not so. I'll put it here. I'm just cooking, so.
And Saraswati, you're in Spain still?
Maharaj, I'm back in London now. I came back yesterday. This is Balaram. Balaram and Vinodini. Virachandra's Vinodini. These are Virachandra's children, my grandchildren.
Okay, let's see Balaram more closely.
Balaram, acércate un poquito. He wants to see you. Come.
Come on, Balaram. Balaram, come. Oh, Balaram, come closer. Oh.
Come. A bit shy. But he was asking who you were when I started this Zoom.
You don't know me?
Maybe he doesn't remember.
He's hiding behind a chair. All right.
Hare Krishna.
Shama Malini.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. How are you?
Good. Where are you?
I'm home in the kitchen.
And there's Rasaraj from New York.
Dandados, Maharaj.
Dandavat. How are you, Rasaraj?
I'm doing fine. I just Bhagavan sent me the
Link.
information. They have a meeting right now, so I just was in a hurry to get in.
Oh. We'll send you the link for Saturday too in Spanish.
Thank you so much.
And who's Chandan Kumar?
Namaste.
Namaste. Or Dandavat, Namaste, all that. Where are you?
I am from India.
I gather that, but where are you living?
I live in Patna.
In Patna. Where is Patna?
The capital of Bihar.
Oh, Bihar.
Very near to Vrindavan.
Okay.
Patna.
Oh, Patna.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is our past karma affect the present time?
What? Hello?
My question is that is past karma affect the present moment?
And what karma?
Past.
karma.
I don't exactly understand the question. Really, the present moment is practically all we accept. Bhakti Vinod Thakur, he said, forget the past, asleep, and near the future dream at all, but live. So we are living in the present moment. We are not living in the past. As far as karma, karma is only temporary. Karma can be, if one takes to the path of bhakti yoga, one can finish with making karma, and gradually that past karma will come to an end. But I don't exactly know what the question you're asking is. Shama Malini. Let me see.
Yes, Maharaj.
Do you speak Hindi?
I do, yeah, a little bit. I understand, yes.
Then maybe you can ask Chandan Kumar in Hindi what his question is.
Chandra Kumar, Hare Krishna. आपका क्वेश्चन क्या है?
मेरा क्वेश्चन है दीदी कि जो बीत चुका है हमारा कर्म, जो हम कुछ गलत किए हैं,
फलक है,
पिछला जन्म में जो हम कुछ किए हैं उसका मेरे अभी के जीवन में कुछ असर पड़ता है क्या?
अच्छा, हाँ मैं महाराज से पूछूंगी. Okay.
दीदी.
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yes.
He's asking about the past karma, if it affects his present life.
Yes, because he's in a human body, then he's only in the human body are you accumulating karma. So naturally in this human body we are responsible and we are making karma. If we don't, whatever action, whatever pop we perform, that gets some reaction. Whatever punya we perform, that also gets reaction. So we're obviously the present moment is very important, because when we're in a human body, we're responsible for our actions.
Yeah, that's true. I'll ask him if he understood. आपने समझ लिया, प्रभु जी?
Yes, दीदी.
अच्छा, ठीक है. Yes, Maharaj, he understood. He said, thank you.
Okay. The animals, they cannot accumulate. Animals cannot accumulate karma. They're in an animal body. They don't make karma, but they still have karma fall from previous lives. But when we're in a human body, then we are responsible, and our activities will result in karma. If we don't take to the path of breaking with karma, that's only through bhakti can we get out of the cycle of karma.
समझ लिया आपने, प्रभु जी?
जी दीदी.
ठीक है. He understood, Maharaj, this what you explained.
Okay.
My second question is that willingly or not willingly, Didi?
See, we're here.
Yes, yes, Prabhu.
हम रोज के जिंदगी में कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा करते हैं जिससे कि मेरा कर्म अफेक्ट होता है. मेरा मतलब है कि जिसे हम चाहते हुए भी और ना चाहते हुए भी हम कुछ ऐसा कर जाते हैं जो हमारे थॉट को इम्प्योर करता है. तो इससे किस तरह बचा जाए?
इससे महाराज ने कह दिया कि भक्ति के जब भक्ति करूंगी तो ये हाथ क्लीन करूंगी, सफाई. आपके हाथ, हाँ, को भक्ति करना चाहिए. भक्ति बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है.
What is his question?
Okay.
He was saying that every day sometimes we do bad thing, and this how to clean the heart from bad thing that we happen to do.
Well, Mahaprabhu says, Cheto Darpanam Marjanam, Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam, Shreya Kairava, Chandrika Vitaranam, Vidyavaru Jivanam. Mahaprabhu says, by the engaging in devotion, chanting the holy name with proper mood and devotional mood and devotional heart, that one can clear out the heart of all the contamination.
आपने समझ लिया?
जी.
हाँ.
लेकिन मेरे साथ ऐसा होता है ना कि मैं रोज मेडिटेशन करता हूँ और मेडिटेशन प्राणायाम करता हूँ. At the same time I'm doing this bad thing also. So this add is it good or bad?
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, पूछूंगी. Okay.
I'm doing the same, good and bad. Does it nullify my everything? That's why I'm suffering so much in my life.
Maharaj is saying that he's doing meditation, chanting, but still he's doing bad thing, and he thinks that's why he's suffering in his life. But he's chanting also and doing bad thing at the same time.
Well, that Srila Sridhar Maharaj explains that our heart is full of so many hard things, which is like ice. But ice, if you increase, he says, Srila Sridhar Maharaj says, all the things in our heart, and we try to get rid of them, but we cannot. And they're like hard things in our heart. But if we increase the temperature, the ice will melt. So all we can do is continue to engage in devotion, to worship Gurudev, Mahaprabhu, and Shri Shri Radha Krishna, to engage in devotion, and by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, all the wrong things that we are doing can gradually go away. They can go away just like ice can melt if we increase the temperature. Everyone is suffering by their karma fall. We are all getting our karma fall. But our idea is not that we are trying to get rid of suffering. We are trying to get rid of the cause of suffering. The cause of suffering is, as Chandan Kumar is saying, the cause of suffering is along with devotion, we are doing wrong things. So, no one is perfect, but we are trying to come to the level of leaving our wrong activities or our sinful activities behind. And we can do that through the mercy of the Vaishnavas and by engaging in devotion. If we have a sincere heart, we can overcome these things.
These are the questions I'm asking for 12 years. The same question I'm asking for many people for 10 or 12 years. But regularly I'm asking same question for many people.
Yes, but the answer is going to be that we are in this mundane world. We are in this body. We have passed through many lives. But if we come to this life and we come to take shelter of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, then we can become relieved from our suffering. We don't have to continue making the same mistakes always.
That's why my whole family is suffering because of my bad karma.
But you can change your karma. Karma is not eternal. Karma is not eternal. It can be changed. We are all coming into this world, and we are all having karma, but we can overcome that karma if we take to devotion.
Sometimes I feel, Prabhuji, sometimes I feel that I should commit suicide because day by day I'm adding some bad karma.
Yeah, well, you'll add more. If you commit suicide, you'll be adding a lot more bad karma. Because suicide is murder. Your body is not your own. Your body is an eternal soul. And you're given this body on a temporary rental basis. You have a temporary rental basis on this body. It is not your permanent property. You have no right to destroy it. And if you destroy your body, your suffering will increase even more. The way to get rid of karma is not to engage in activities will increase the karma. Because your body will be finished, but your karma will continue. And the action of committing suicide is very sinful. We'll get worse karma for that. Better you should continue to try to engage yourself and your family in the path of devotion. Pranayama is okay. That is good for health, but you need bhakti for your soul. Devashis.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Dhanyavad. Devashis.
I don't know the
Yes,
process
Swami.
Ah. You have any questions there that came to you?
No, actually.
And where
I
is
have
that?
one question.
Who?
Falguni,
Falguni.
when chanting the japa, what is exactly the proper mood that we should have in our heart, but also how can we fight the thoughts that come while chanting that just drives you somewhere else?
What is the proper mood? Just to try to hear the holy name. Offer some prayers before you chant. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda, and chant, trying to hear the japa and trying to avoid offenses of the holy name. Like that. It is the same. You're chanting for many years. You already know the answer to this question.
Well, the question goes more in line like when thoughts about any material thing comes when chanting, if there is anything that you know that could be done that can help to avoid it.
Yes. Just push those things out of your mind.
Thank you, Maharaj.
I mean, we're all in the same situation. We're all chanting. We're going into the temple, and if some unwanted thoughts come into our mind, we have to leave those. We have to push those unwanted thoughts out of our mind. What else can we do? We don't have to. It's like we don't have to be a servant of our senses. We don't have to be a servant of our mind. So what is that saying that Srila Saraswati Thakur said? He said, in the morning one should beat one's mind, what is it? 100 times with an old shoe or with a shoe. And in the evening with a broomstick, wasn't it?
Yeah, with the broom, yeah.
So we have in the morning you can grab a shoe, beat your mind with a shoe. In the evening you can beat your mind with a broomstick. I mean, that's what Saraswati Thakur says, so I take it by that answer. We're not supposed to give much credence to our mind. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita that the mind is the best friend or the worst enemy. But I don't believe until someone comes to a level of devotion that the mind can ever be a good friend. Not until one becomes actually very much absorbed in devotion and trying to become a surrendered soul or becomes a surrendered soul, then maybe the purified mind can serve as a friend. But at our present stage, I don't know how many persons can see their mind as a friend. I haven't, Gaurachandra, your mind is your friend? Gaurachandra, your mind is your friend?
That's to Falguni or to me?
Huh?
That's to Falguni or to me?
That's to you.
No, we know the mind is the devil, basically. It's always telling me like, yeah, enjoy.
All right. So there are many persons here. Maybe I want to see if anyone has considers their mind their friend. Anyone? Devashis?
Well, it convinces me that it is quite a lot, but I'm not sure it really is.
You're
It might be lying
sure.
to me.
Yeah, it may be lying to you.
I like you. I'm gonna do well for you. Just trust me. Trust me.
My mind is not my friend.
Srila Govindamar said the first thing Guru Maharaj told him when he came to the Mat, he told him, "Can you follow me?" First he asked him, "Can you stay here?" And then he said, "Can you follow me and not follow your mind?" But it's not so easy not to follow one's mind. In order to make you follow your mind, the mind starts doing starts torturing you and twisting and It's not just trying to convince you that the mind is your friend. It's also torturing you into trying to follow it, right?
Yeah.
If you don't want to follow me si no me quieres seguir por las buenas, me vas a seguir por las malas. That if you don't want to follow, the mind is convincing you. If you don't want to follow my good advice, because I'm your best friend, then I'll just torture you.
Here's some stuff to be getting on with.
I don't know if somebody was waterboarding you or torturing you, whether they could convince you that they were your best friend. Would that be very likely?
Probably convince me of anything.
Convince you of anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stop the water.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe it could convince you of anything, but I don't know if you'd be convinced that it was your best friend. But the Gita does say the mind is either the best friend or the worst enemy. So apparently, under some select circumstances, the mind could really be a good friend. All you'd have to do is become a completely surrendered soul and, a Param Vaishnav. Then maybe your mind would be a very good friend. Maybe I'll have to put in an application to become a Param Vaishnav.
It's not a bad idea, Maharaj.
Huh?
Not a bad idea to become a Param Vaishnava.
Yes. There are some openings. Hey, Rasaraj, you have your hand in the air. What's
Yeah, I
that?
have a question, Maharaj.
Yeah.
I remember to read that in Kali Yuga, they say that the sinful activities committed in the mind, they are not counted. But also I read that Vaishnava Parat is not the same. So Vaishnava Parat, it means that we can commit the offense in the mind?
Well,
That's my question.
Everything starts in the mind. Things start on the subtle level, but then soon, especially with sinful activities and aparads to the Vaishnavas, to the Lord, and to, like that, they can begin in the mind, but from there they'll become more and more gross. Things start on a subtle level, but soon they become worse than subtle. They become unsubtle, not very subtle. Yeah. So there's great hope in that. Like we heard was mentioned about giving up the gross body. Even if we give up the gross body by suicide, there is still the subtle body. And the subtle body consists of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So on the level of the subtle body, one can still suffer like crazy, because part of the suffering of the subtle body is if one becomes a ghost, one is suffering more, and one actually wants to have another body to be able to enjoy, or maybe to even suffer, I don't know. But one's subtle body will take one to another gross body. And we know that verse. Yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajet yanti kalevaram tam tam evaite konteya sada tad bhava bhavita. That subtle body, even if one, there are persons who don't have gross bodies. They're on just the level of subtle bodies, maybe like a ghost. And when one gives up this body, one's good friend, the mind, which is not really the good friend, I'm just saying that sarcastically, mind, false ego, senses. Well, mind, false ego, and intelligence, material intelligence, will take one to a new body, where you can go on committing more Vaishnava aparads. No, but obviously we may say that activities that are not informed, we may not be so responsible for every subtle wrong thought or wrong thing that we commit in our mind. But we have usually the experience that things that are committed in the mind and on a subtle level soon exert themselves in a gross form. Things begin with some wrong thoughts, but they don't just terminate on the subtle level. But as far as Vaishnava aparad, we're more concerned about the intent. The intent. What is the intent of that Vaishnava aparad? Why is it existing? What is the intent? The intent is to harm the Vaishnava. That would seem to be the intent. Like maybe where the Vaishnava aparad becomes worse is when there's actually some conscious endeavor to offend the Vaishnava. It's going on with ill intent. It is not just something that is occurring on a subtle level in the mind. Because, as Gaurachandra was saying, my mind can be very much a devil, demoniac. But all I can say to that is, what else is new? There's nothing new to that. We know what is the capabilities of the mind. But somehow or other, through diligence, through endeavor, through endeavoring to serve the Lord and His devotees, it is possible to subdue that rebellious mind. I mean, so many wrong thoughts may come into the mind. The problem is that those wrong thoughts can be translated into actions, and they can become sinful activities, aparads. But it is possible for us to even purify our mind. But that may be, in the beginning stages, trying to purify the mind, maybe trying to wash coal. How easy is that? Has anybody tried to wash coal? Can it be done? Can we have clean coal? Is it possible for us to have clean coal by washing it?
I think not.
What?
I think not.
What about if we take a couple pounds of coal and we throw it in the washing machine or in the dishwasher?
It's not going to work, Maharaj.
Not going to work. Well, maybe trying to clean the mind is a little comparable to that, trying to wash coal.
Srila Guru Maharaj used to say that it's not anything like a purified mind, because it is a material, it can be pure. That's what he said.
Well, but apparently we have understanding that on a spiritual level, we are not mindless. When we're engaging in devotion, when someone is exalted, as I said, Param Vaishnav, it's not that they are mindless. What is that, Gaurachandra?
You're saying like, we're not mindless. And I'm thinking, talk for yourself, please.
Huh?
Talk for yourself. Like, I am very mindless.
Well, Govinda Maharaj, when he used to speak, he would say, give your minorly attention, or something like that, wasn't it? Your minorly attention. Give attention with your mind, right?
Maharaj, one question. There is always a verse that I like. Is this one that, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha. Could you please talk a little bit about that line that takes from lust to anger? How does it happen? The line from lust to anger.
Well, first it starts with contemplation of the senses. There's so many things that you can contemplate. You have experience of that, right? Contemplating different objects, contemplating different objects of the senses, right? You can contemplate. So from the contemplation, what happens? Then comes some attachment. Is it like that? First, from contemplation of the senses, then some attachment comes. And when one is not able to satisfy the senses, or one is not able to, realize that desire, then anger will result. Now, you heard, one time I was talking with Srila Prabhupada, and this was a humorous, well, you might say a conversation based on some false preaching which was going on at the time. And the preaching was to the extent that brahmacharis in temples should not be trained by grihastas, because the grihastas were servants of the senses, so they shouldn't be in a position of training brahmacharis. Something to that effect was some false propaganda. So then I began asking Prabhupada, I said, one thing I don't understand is when in the story of Sakshi Gopal, where the young Brahmin is with the elderly Brahmin, and he serves that elderly Brahmin, and then the Brahmin is very satisfied with the service of that young man, or we could say brahmachari if you want to use that term, and he says, you have served me so nicely that I want to do this. I want to offer to you the hand of my daughter in marriage because you have served me so nicely. And the young man objected, no, this is not correct, because I am from a very poor family and I am uneducated, and you are from an aristocratic family, and therefore this marriage will be looked down upon by society, and especially by your family. They will not want this. So then the old man said, but she is my daughter, and if I want to offer to you and her in marriage, who can stop me? So he insisted, and then the young man said, well, if you really are intent upon that, you can say so in front of the deity of Gopal. And the old man did so. And then you know the story. We know the story that later the old man's sons and family, they said, we cannot allow this, and if you insist on this, we will commit suicide. Then the old man didn't want to see that happen, so he was hesitant, and when the young man called a meeting of the town people and said, he has promised his daughter's hand in marriage, but now he says he doesn't remember. So you please ask him. So this is how the story begins of Sakshi Gopal. And because there was this false propaganda that somebody who's married couldn't train new persons or unmarried persons, I asked Prabhupada, well, why did the young Brahmin then ask the deity to come and give testimony or to give witness? Why did he make the Lord walk so far just so he could get married? And that was my question. Then Prabhupada said, then he could see that Prabhupada said, we are not against marriage. And then I said, yes, but isn't just a second-class man who will get married, and why? I was giving all the propaganda, the false propaganda. And then Prabhupada started to joke with me, and he said, what is this? You think that just by putting on saffron, one becomes pure? He said, you have not heard the saying, drinking water underwater on a fast day? Meaning, you can look so pure and perfect in your nice little saffron cloth, but that doesn't make you pure. And then he said, and what is this attitude saying nobody should ever get married, etc.? The conversation was continuing, and then Prabhupada, instead of saying about the wolf jumping for the grapes, for the fox, it's isn't it the fox is jumping for the grapes, but they're too high and he can't reach them?
Yeah, fox or jackal or something, yeah.
Yeah, so the fox can't reach them. So Prabhupada, instead of fox, he said wolf. The wolf is jumping for the grapes, can't reach them. And therefore says that they're all sour. All the grapes are sour. And we have that expression, sour grapes, right?
Yeah.
Who's here? Hello? Okay, pero estoy haciendo Ven. Okay. So he's jumping and he can't reach the grapes, so he says all the grapes are sour. You know that story, right? So, possibly. So this is going on. What again? Refresh me with a question, because I don't want to get too off base. What was the question?
No, I mean that it was like the line between lust and anger, because
okay. So then Prabhupada said he's trying to reach the grapes, the wolf or fox, he said the wolf is trying to reach the grapes, so he can't reach them, so he says they are sour. They're all sour. So then Prabhupada said, and just see this sannyasi, referring to me, he said, just see this sannyasi. No woman would have him, so he says now that nobody should get married. Like a correlation between that and the wolf or fox who's jumping for the grapes but can't reach them and then says they're all sour. So it is something akin to what you're asking about, Gaurachandra, that people, they can't get what they want and then they become angry or sour and they become very bitter persons, that they cannot enjoy this world to their extent. That I want, but things have changed now. You understand that connection. The Bhagavad Gita is saying that by contemplating the objects of the senses, attachment happens, and when you can't satisfy that attachment, then anger develops, and from anger comes loss of memory. And then one falls down into the material condition. Right? That is the sequence which is mentioned. So we are experiencing that sequence. But now, anyway, I won't continue with some story, with the story, but you understand how the story works. Prabhupada mentioned. He told me.
Yes, it's amazing, and it's always. I mean, it seems the word seems always more like frustration. Like you get frustrated when you don't get what you want. But to me, it was always from the very beginning that I read that verse. I got very impressed because you will never see that correlation between something that is supposed to be almost sacred in our culture. So, so well seen.
What is sacred? What is sacred in our culture?
Well, the love, they call it love. You know what I mean? Like they call love and all that. And then when you read Bhagavad Gita, they say, no, that is lost. And that, and when you fall into that, you're just...
Your question was not about lust and love. Your question was, what happens when one is from contemplation of the senses? And then attachment happens. And then from attachment, one anger develops when you can't satisfy that. We weren't talking about love and lust. We were just talking about good old mundane attachment, becoming attached to something, not being satisfied because we couldn't attain what we were contemplating. We were contemplating the objects of the senses, and we couldn't attain those objects of the senses. And then I made some, not... Hey, ¿qué pasó?
Ya dejé eso ya.
¿Dónde está la ropa que estás llevando?
Ah, no, como que ya vengo.
Un poquito olvidado.
No me siento mi hermana.
Maharaj.
Yeah.
Isn't it that we've do you think at some point in the history of our past that our mind was in good shape, like at the beginning or when we were on a higher planetary system, and then we've dragged it through this crazy place? Or is it much more separate than that from us?
Well, I don't know what you mean.
I mean, our mind maybe at some point in the past lives was purer, or maybe we were in a higher planetary system and it was more in a mode of goodness, and then we came, to like the material world, but like the Earth planet, where there's so much deranged and mad, and we've contaminated our mind ourselves, isn't it? It's not that it was like that anyway.
I'm not so sure, because maybe some things are still, were always in our mind, but they were in an unmanifest form. They hadn't yet showed themselves. Just like we just saw with Saraswati. Saw with Saraswati, her grandson Balaram, right? And she has another, her granddaughter, what is the granddaughter's name? Vinodini?
Vinodini, yeah.
Yeah, Vinodini. And both of them seem very, very, very kind of angelic, right?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't think of that. We wouldn't think of that boy Balaram or Vinodini. We wouldn't think of them having some mean-spirited, nasty, vicious mind, right?
Yeah.
We don't think of them in that way. We think of, the innocence of babes, and sometimes they'll say, even from the mouth of babes, they'll say something that's truthful that even an adult might not necessarily say, right?
Yeah.
But it's something that's coming that we associate with some of the pureness of a young child, right? So we have that conception there, that when they're very young, they seem very pure, and their mind, also is not. Like I heard Govindamar, she tells persons, chant the holy name when he's giving them initiation, and avoid the 10 offenses. And when he would sometimes initiate very young children, he would say, that he doesn't have to give them the book of the 10 offenses, because they don't know what the 10 offenses are. And they're not so much committing those offenses. So, there's some indication like that. So at the same time, that may be the perception. We have that perception of children, of young children, that they have that their mind is apparently not so contaminated. So I don't know exactly when you start talking about, well, maybe we were in a higher planetary system and we had more pure thoughts. It would seem, even if we look at young children and everything, that maybe even in this earthly planet, as you put it, we have some possibility of being able to, maybe rectify our past misgivings. We don't have to be totally influenced by the environment to become completely corrupt. At least by appearance, it would appear that way. But then consciously, we start making some wrong decisions. And I'm not saying that within the mind of a child, there's nothing latent, that maybe something from previous karma, from previous lives, nothing that it's not there and it won't show itself with time. But it would seem that, we're given a chance, just like, I don't know, it seems like we're given from the time of birth, we hear, even before birth, the embryo or the person within the womb is praying to the Lord. So many lifetimes I've forgotten you, my Lord, but this time, please, I need your mercy, and I promise when I get out of this situation, I will serve you. And then we see that may be the prayer that is offered in the womb, but when we get out of the womb, we start forgetting that promise to the Lord of engaging in the Lord's service. And things develop, things go from I don't know if you'd say from good to bad or from bad to worse. I guess it depends on your perspective. Let me hear someone else comment about this. What about this, which I'm mentioning, about the apparent purity of mind of a young child? What do you have to say about that, Lavanya, or Devashis, or Saraswati? Any comments about that?
Well, yeah, you're kind of tabula rasa, aren't you? And
You're what?
Tabula rasa, like a blank slate in a sense. But of course, you do bring everything with you from your last life, but maybe that's not manifested yet.
Yeah.
It's the question of nature and nurture, isn't it?
Well, apparently there is something latent, because we heard in the story of Ajamil, he started out as a pretty reasonable young man.
Yeah.
Kind of a choir boy type person, right?
Yeah.
And then later, some different urges, some different...
We have that karmic seed inside our heart that's hasn't fructified yet, or seed of desires from past life.
That's true, but I'm wondering if one had some very good association, like it says, the results of pious activities. One can be born in, what is it, a rich mercantile family, but it also mentions into a family of pious devotees. So one would think, regardless of what previous sinful activities may be there latent, the reaction and the desires within our heart, if possibly we had good association, it's possible that things can change. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen, in the sense that we see sometimes somebody is born in a family of devotees, but they don't turn out to be devotees. I mean, even the sons and daughters of our devotees, sometimes they have a good opportunity. Like it's like if you're born into the family of a doctor, maybe you have a better opportunity to become a doctor than if you're not born into that family. But it's not for sure. Not everybody born in a doctor's family becomes a doctor. But you can understand the point of logic. Point of logic is that even though you may have some latent desires within the heart, maybe if you have enough sukriti that you're born into the family of devotees, maybe that will have some effect on you. And because as we're talking, it is possible for us to purify our heart. That's the process that we're following. We're following Mahaprabhu's process of cleansing one's own heart. Here we are. Not all the children are here because they're back in school now, but we have a few. And here we have Vaidehi has come with Karuna. We have Leela. What is her name? Leela?
Leela Amrita?
Leela Amrita and Karuna Amrita.
Dhanyavad everyone.
Let's see here. Karuna.
Devashis.
Come a little closer. Look, this is Karuna.
Hey.
Now, when I spoke about apparent purity of children, there you can see it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not everybody that comes to this bad material world turns into a big wolf immediately.
Yeah, give it a few years.
Well, give it a lot of years.
And before Shri left, she told me to always continue doing a kids program at the temple so they feel excited to come to the temple.
Do you want a lollipop?
Definitely. You want me to? I'll get it for you, Margie. Stay right there.
All right, I'll stay.
Yeah, stay right there.
What color do you want?
I want pink.
Pink, all right.
Because I love pink. It's my favorite color.
Here's pink.
Thanks.
I think we'll come by and still bring you treats on Wednesdays just to say hi to you.
Okay.
And then is it okay if we organize a little activity for the kids at the Samadhi after the Artika at the Sunday feast?
Sure.
Okay.
But this Sunday, we're doing a program for Sureshri.
Okay. I don't think anyone's going to be ready to organize anything when they're so sad.
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. We love you.
Thank you.
Dhanyavad.
Dhanavad.
I'm going to open my lollipop.
Okay, good job.
Okay. See how much love can be bought by a simple lollipop. So, yeah, Sureshri, she passed away last Friday night, about 11:30. Some of you may know Sureshri. She's a very, very wonderful devotee and always a good servitor. She worked nonstop in the kitchen, and her and her husband Brihaspati, Brishakapi, he's passed away a long time ago, but they opened temples in the Potomac and Pittsburgh, I believe, and very dedicated persons. Anyway, Sureshri is very wonderful. And as I said before, that I got the message from Saraswati about her mother, Flor Maria Contreras de Perez, and she asked that all the Vaishnavas will keep her mother in their prayers, so that is very nice. And tomorrow we are doing a program for Sureshri. Tomorrow's the cremation, actually, and a reception of the family. Some of her family members flew in from afar, and they're having a program in her remembrance after the cremation, and then our Sunday program we will have dedicated to her. That is, we'll have Vaishnav Seva. We're feeding the Vaishnavas in her memory. So
I just received a question from Anonymous.
Okay.
And I think it's more of a critique of my leadership style, I think. But please, Anonymous, I know you're there. Don't get all the devotees to leave the temple, please. So says, last week we discussed the topic of managing devotees with an introverted, solitary and sensitive nature, experiencing anxieties. In the nectar of instruction, revealing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially is stated. Tonight we're discussing a similar theme, so I'd like to clarify a doubt as follows. I came to hear from other aspiring practitioners of Krishna consciousness that they can and do grin and bear it, yet get grumpy doing service they either don't like, have a preference for, or doing too much. Consequences described by them include burnout and/or resentment from not speaking up and suffering in silence. From your 40 plus years of experience, what is your opinion on these options or suggestions of either having a break and coming back refreshed, or leaving altogether to try and prevent a bitter aftertaste, e.g. hateful thoughts and bad memories replaying?
So, give me the gist of that. I didn't catch exactly all the reasoning.
Yeah. So yeah, the gist is that some devotees are saying because they're shy and introverted, when they're becoming burnt out, they just grin and bear it rather than speak up and say anything. And then they get grumpy because they're doing service they don't like or don't have a preference for, or they end up doing too much. So from your 40 years plus experience, what do you think of devotees having a break and coming back refreshed, or leaving the mission altogether, or leaving the temple altogether to try and prevent a bitter aftertaste, e.g. hateful thoughts and bad memories replaying?
I don't know. I can understand the reasoning how that can develop, but I don't know. That's just not my experience. My experience is that I'm to think that I will engage in devotion for which I have a preference. Well, that's not always going to be for my benefit anyway, because maybe I have an aptitude, and if Gurudev sees that aptitude, he'll engage me, but not necessarily. Sometimes, what is it? I remember, the quotation was, purity is the force, and 4 principles. One is purity is the force, and utility is the principle.
Yeah, books are the basis, and
preaching
is the essence.
Yes. So on that consideration, purity is the force, and utility is the principle. So many times I'm engaging in activities which may be difficult for me, but on the principle of utility is the what is it? Utility is the principle that I'm doing something because perhaps Gurudev wants that done, or it is necessary that someone will do that activity, whether it is desirable or not. I mean, I've seen Govinda Maharaj himself. I've seen him put on a gamsha, or a towel, a gamsha, and enter in and help clean the latrine in the women's in the ladies' ashram. I've seen him do that. I've seen him do that with I'm trying to remember who it was. Maybe it was Krishna Sharan at the time, who became Aranya Maharaj. But it's not like that everybody relishes cleaning a latrine. And Govinda Maharaj said one time he was taking prasadam, and he saw that Guru Maharaj was watching, and he was taking prasadam, and there were some insects that had fallen into that prasadam, and he could have said, "No, I won't eat this. It's not fit for human consumption," or something. But he saw that Gurudev was watching, Guru Maharaj was watching, and he just ate the prasadam. And he said he could see that Guru Maharaj was pleased by his devotional attitude, that he knew how to respect prasadam. So sometimes I'm considering, maybe there's some things that we may not want to do, but we are doing them anyway as a matter of Guru Seva, that I'm considering that this is my service to Gurudev, and whether I like it or not, Gurudev wants that this will be done, so I accept that. Now, I'm saying that not everybody has to become, whether introverted or not, not everyone has to be affected in the way described, that they become grumpy or bitter or burnt out, etc. I'm sure that can happen, but I think with the proper adjustment, it doesn't have to happen. If one can actually think that I'm doing this for the service and pleasure of Gurudev, then maybe one can make a proper adjustment. And of course, there are many activities which we'll try to perform, and we may not be successful. We may not do them successfully, because we're offering an activity to the Lord, but whether it's successful or a failure, that's the Lord's. That's more or less the Lord's province. It's not within ours. We're just endeavoring. We may not be successful. So I don't know. Then it says, then Anonymous says, well, is it better to become inactive? Was that the point?
Yeah, well, there's two things. One said, take a break and then, like have a little holiday or something, and then come back refreshed from it, or leave altogether so that you don't develop bitterness, resentment, and hatred towards the people who've engaged you in that way.
Well, I guess that we could all.
Llama más tarde.
Hey,
Okay.
apaga tu micrófono. Okay. Now.
Done.
So, I mean, I'm sure that we could, I'm sure we can rationalize everything, but I'm just saying, it doesn't seem to me that this is necessarily the answer to take. All right, take a break if there's nothing wrong with if somebody is too much in anxiety or something. There's nothing. Then all right, they can take some time if they're unable to continue with their service. Yes, they can take a break. All right, but going away altogether, or even taking a break, I mean, I don't feel that that's necessarily the answer for frustration. I don't know. It depends. We can deal with, I'm just saying, we can, of course, even on an external level, there are things that can work on, without externally, like maybe, like for instance, sometimes when I personally feel, some anxiety or something, then maybe I'll just go for a walk. I'll go to the ocean. I live near the ocean. I can go to the ocean, and I can go for a walk along the beach. And then you can always chant, take your japa, go for a walk. I saw when I was in London, for instance, there were plenty of places to walk that were very nice. We went to what was that place? Virginia Gardens?
Virginia Water.
Huh?
Virginia Water.
Okay, that was a very nice place. And even near the temple in West London, there were some fields and nice places to walk. And I'm sure there are many parks in London. Some of them, I guess, can be inhabited by some gangs or some persons that you don't want to bump into, so you might not go for a walk in those places. But there were nice places, and I think, but I don't know why it is that necessarily somebody who's introverted will have to get and can't speak out. Then that person will have to become burnt out. Maybe there's a way of not being burnt out even if they are introverted. such as engaging in some kind of service which is dear to them. Or maybe the person will find solace in reading scripture. I mean, I think that some of the circumstances related in this question, to me, I'm just saying personally, to me they seem a little bit viewed from an external vantage or from externally considered. That because somebody's introverted, therefore they have to become frustrated by, I guess, cruel-minded or unperceptive leaders, or et cetera, et cetera. But I believe that I've known plenty of introverted or even very shy persons who are able to do quite nicely in devotional service, and not everyone is engaged, you know. Not everyone is engaged directly in this by Gurudev. They're living in the place where Gurudev is living, so they have always continual access to Gurudev. But my feeling is that a person can, I mean, that seems to be, to me, one of the lessons which we've maybe put in the form of a cliche, but has come up where we're saying one of the main lessons about Bhagavad Gita is don't blame the environment. The environment is not the cause of your difficulties. The environment rather comes to change you. So maybe I find some situations that are confrontational, as Anonymous is saying. But maybe it is, if with the proper viewpoint, I can consider that those confrontational situations that have come are to help change me. Maybe I can change devotionally without having to leave or take a vacation or just leave altogether. I mean, I'm sure that maybe with some persons that's an explanation of why they have left. And I remember one humorous remark Govinda Maharaj made. He said, generally persons in India, they will never leave their guru. They will never abandon their guru. He says, of course, they may not listen or follow anything he says at all, but they will never abandon their guru. But he says, this was his humor. He was saying that some persons in the West, they would follow and so completely devoted to everything he said and wanted, etc. But then after some years, he would say, where is that person? They'd say, oh, that person left. So he was describing kind of what you can say, the difference between, he said, many persons in India, they'll never consider leaving their guru, but they won't listen to anything he says. And on the other hand, he said, there are many persons that he meets in the West that follow everything and they're so devotional, etc., but then they don't last very long. So it was, of course, that was said in mood of humor, but we can understand that there is some something to be seen there. That I can understand how people can become frustrated and leave, because I've seen it happen so much. But I'm saying it doesn't have to happen. And it's not that everybody who stays is, it's not the fact that everyone who stays, that none of them are introverted, that they're all, no. We have the possibility of developing internally as well as externally. Externally, I may seem that I've, so to speak, I've earned my stripes. But but what is more important is the internal development. What's that saying? Rank is, what is it? Rank is not the guinea mark of man.
No, rank is but the guinea stamp. Man is the gold for that.
Okay. Can you repeat that again?
Rank is but the guinea stamp. Man is the gold for that.
All right. So it's not just a question. Of course, there is some honor that comes with the rank, as you're putting it. But really, the development of the person, both externally and internally, is what is important. I think it's too easy to just say that this person left because he was not being properly dealt with. That's what I'm saying. Something to that effect. Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, it is. I think you have to get the balance right, isn't it? That's you speak to a lot of devotees who did leave, and that one of the main things they say is, well, I left because nobody cared about me, nobody gave a damn about me, so maybe that's there to some extent. But, I think in our mission, it's a much more like a family, really. I don't see that so much, that people are just sidelined or ignored, or nobody's trying to nurture them. I don't see that. I see that the devotees
maybe somebody's perception that nobody cares about me, and maybe that also is a lesson for everyone, that we should show, at least try to demonstrate and show to persons some caring and some love for them. Because actually we don't really wish anyone ill. We don't wish that anybody become, we don't wish to deal with people in a heartless way. But sometimes some persons may, the persons themselves may have some anxiety. But one thing I remember when I was a young devotee, that who was dealing with me, that person was a little insensitive and a little young and selfish also, because in that time in the mission everybody was young and a little bit inexperienced in dealing with other people. We all were. So my reaction to that person was on two different occasions, actually. One, I just left that particular temple and I went somewhere else. Now maybe I had the mobility to do that because I basically, don't have too many attachments. So if I didn't feel good, if I didn't feel proper in one particular environment, I could go to another environment. When I was young. Now I'm not necessarily able to do that. But I'm saying there is some kind of adjustment you can make. Nobody is bound, just like nobody is forced to endure a situation which they can't deal with. But I would hope that some in that situation goes like who, as Anonymous is saying, all right, take a break, or maybe go what is it? Maybe go somewhere where you're in a situation where you can feel you can serve in that. I don't know. It is true. It must make us think that we don't want to see that people are being dealt unkindly with. And sometimes we may not be so perceptive to be able to perceive that somebody, but generally if somebody is having some difficulty, we'll try to help them. Is there any other continuation of the question?
No. I mean, it was sent to me by a third party, so there might be, but I haven't received any like follow-up to that.
Okay. Some of the questions seem different. I don't think all the questions. Some of the questions are anonymous, and some are from persons, but I don't think all the anonymous are the same person. There is nobody by that name, anonymous. Subhasini.
Dandavats Maharaj.
Dandavat. How is everything in Ireland?
Everything is okay, Maharaj. We had a we are having a new center in Limerick. Actually, they opened on Krishna Janmashtami on it's about 3 hours from where I stay, and there are a few devotees there. So they got a house and they opened the center. So
how many centers are there in Ireland?
There is none, actually. It's like we have devotees, around the country, the different places, but we have programs at home, don't have a center where everybody can gather. It's so I heard that before I came, there was a temple in Dublin, but now it is recently they opened it in Limerick. That was nice.
Do they have a temple in London, in Dublin?
Not now, no.
Oh. So where do you live in Ireland?
I live in a place called Wexford, Maharaj. It's about 2 hours from Dublin on the east coast. It's south of Dublin, south on the southeast, actually.
And Ireland is very green and beautiful?
Yes, of course, Maharaj. Very scenic everywhere you go. It's beautiful, very, very green. Yes, it's very scenic.
And most of the devotees living, well, I imagine there are many devotees who are living in the countryside?
Yes, actually, there are not, I don't think there's anybody in Dublin, except one person. Most of them are in the countryside. Yeah, there is nobody in the city, but Limerick, where the center they opened, it's a city actually bigger than where I live. It's a university there, so it's a reasonably big city. Not as big as Dublin, but it is big. Yeah. We look forward to your visit, Maharaj, hopefully soon.
I look forward to my visit too, but when am I going to be able to go? Yes, every time one wants to travel, they present some new overwhelming situation that it just never ends.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping now we are coming up, what is it? the coming Tuesday is Radhastami, is it not?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's like a very special day. And then, I always consider these times together: Janmastami, Radhastami, and then there are some festivals near the time of Radhastami. But Radhastami is actually, we acquired this property in Sokel. We're on what is it? About 28 acres of land, or in terms of hectares, it would be what, about 12 hectares of land, and we acquired this property actually on Radhastami. So Radhastami coming up for Tuesday, and it'll also be the anniversary of. We'll of course just celebrate Radhastami, but it's also a day in which we received the title of the land. Of course, there were some liens against it, but from the bank. But now that's all gone. Govinda Maharaj said, if I knew how much you owed on the property, he said I would have been hesitant to install the deities. But he did install the deities, and now we don't owe anything on the property. We paid the, what, as you I guess in England, Ireland, called a hypothecament. What is it called? We say the mortgage. But
we say two here.
Huh?
Here is the same, too, mortgage.
Mortgage. The noose of death.
Okay. I thought maybe in India they say it's hypothecated. Means mortgage thing. And I didn't know if that was an English term, hypothecated.
I have another question, Maharaj. I don't know how to formulate it, so please give me some guidance on this one. But the idea is like this. We have all these stories like to guide us. Like, for example, I was remembering this. I'm talking about trust. When you somehow see how people can do something really wrong because they fall prey of something bewitched by some lusty desire or something, some situation. And then we see that this kind of situations even happen in our own literature, like that. I think it was Bharat Maharaj that when he was a king, he fell in love with the deer, and then he died thinking about the deer. Then he became a deer, and we know that. Or even the one who died crying the name of his son Narayan, and then he got another chance. So
Ajamil.
Ajamil, yeah, exactly. I forgot his name all of a sudden. So Ajamil, and we see that this happened. These people lost their mind due to sanskar or loss or whatever. So how can we use these kind of teachings in order to use them in a day-to-day basis of our life, or we should not try to mix that high knowledge with the material things that happen in a day-to-day basis when coming to dealing with people that is absolutely no interested in devotion or anything, for example.
Well, you know that song that we sing in the morning? What is it? Thakur Vaishnava Gan.
Mm.
Well, that song very strongly states the position. There is. Oh, I was just going to. Well, that song, Thakur Vaishnava Gan, it describes how one is imprisoned by all one's thoughts and actions and servant of lust. What is the lust, anger, greed, madness. What are the six whips of by which we are being controlled? Lust, anger, greed, madness,
delusion,
and envy.
Okay. I mean, but I'm just now coming to the idea that all these things can be controlled. Actually, they can be controlled. Or at least I'm believing this, that they all can be controlled just by not giving them credence. Now, I don't know if that's rather naive viewpoint to take, but I mean, if you mention, how is it that one can stop these different kinds of whips? One is being whipped by them. It is said, I am a servant of these things. But if one can say how one can stop being a servant of these impulses and all these cruel masters, my question is one inherently actually forced to follow these things? Does one have to follow them? For instance, I heard Govinda Maharaj give the comment. He said, Krishna asked sometimes very naughty questions. And he said to Maharaj Yudhishthira, he said, now look, Yudhishthira, your mother Kunti, right?
Yeah.
She is very beautiful. She never ages. She's very beautiful. She always appears as a beautiful woman. So aren't you ever attracted to her? Now, obviously, Govinda Maharaj termed this one of Krishna's naughty questions, indicating your mother is very beautiful. Aren't you attracted to your own mother? She's always a young girl, and very, very beautiful. So aren't you ever?
If it was Draupadi.
No.
No.
No, not
Kunti.
Kunti. I think Draupadi.
No,
No, it was Kunti.
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 Kunti says
Yeah,
white.
Kunti, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Where did you find them?
I found them at Stop Alive.
Oh, were
On
they?
the Frigidaire point?
Yeah, please. Were they? Okay, I'll just answer this question. So, Krishna asked what Govinda Maharaj termed this naughty question to Yudhishthira. Kunti is always very beautiful, and she's your mother, but aren't you ever attracted to her? Because she never ages, she's always a young girl and very beautiful. That's Krishna's, quote, naughty question to Yudhishthira. And then Yudhishthira said, perhaps, but I'm able to control that by my dharma buddhi, my religious intelligence. So my point is, cannot all these different impulses be controlled by developing the quality of religious intelligence and determination not to fall prey to those kinds of impulses and to those thoughts and that lust, anger, greed, And can we not control those things by dharma buddhi, or by spiritual intelligence. Otherwise, how is someone supposed to control these things? By eating garlic capsules or pranayam?
Somehow I always thought that it was only by the mercy of the Guru.
Perhaps, but then how does the mercy of the Guru exert itself?
By dissipating these things, but not. I mean, this is my idea. Please guide me, but not by my own force, but because somehow you do something for him, that he give his blessing to you, and then that basically just disappear from your side, but not because my own strength or anything.
Well, I mean, you're very fortunate. You have a nice devotional wife, and you're in a very good situation, and you always have the blessings of, as you say, Gurudev and the Vaishnavas. Then you can apply that. But I really feel the applying of that, to have that good fortune, will come in the form of what Yudhishthira called dharma buddhi. I can't see any other way of phrasing it. Or maybe I'm just being very nearsighted. But how will you go from this point to this point? All right, you've got Gurudev's mercy. You've got Gurudev's mercy. You've got the blessings of the Vaishnavas. You're engaged in devotion. And now, because of that, you'll never find any situation in which you become, entrapped or now present before you is the personification of these lust, anger, greed, etc. You're never going to be in a situation where Maya doesn't present those things to you. No, Maya will present those things to you, but you have the mercy of the Vaishnavas of Gurudev. And does that mean now that you're just like some kind of, what is the word? Now you're impervious, you don't see anything in front of you? I mean, we've heard the story of Bilva Mangal Thakur, when before he went to Vrindavan. Apparently there is still some temptation there, right? You know that story, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like these things won't present themselves to a person. I think that's part of being in this mundane body. And I've seen so many situations where I remember one thing I remember when I was, I mentioned that, the story of some famous English, what was his name, and Christine Kaler or something like that. I forget. Do you know that example?
Profuma.
Profuma. Was he English?
Yeah, he was one in the government. He was part of the Secretary for State or something like that.
And he fell victim to a spy, right?
Yeah. Profuma.
And her name was Christine Kaler or something like that.
Kaler, yeah.
Yeah. And she was a Russian spy, right?
Yeah.
Of course, there are other kinds of spies. Not all of them have to be Russian. I guess some could be Maya spies also. Spies sent by Maya to trick people. Is that possible?
Could be.
Yeah, say maybe some Mayic spies also. So this was a case, was not that this woman, it wasn't that, oh, by chance she bumped into him in an elevator or something like that, and she looked very pretty, and then they started talking, and the next thing, some attachment developed. No, she was actually presumably sent in order to be able to entrap him, right?
Yeah.
So then there was not a question that all of a sudden, he wasn't going to be in any difficulty, that it was just an accident. It wasn't an accident. There was some intent there. So obviously, anybody can be in a situation where they're confronted with difficulty. Anyway, I'm still remembering the Yudhishthir's answer was by his dharma buddhi, that he was able to avoid unwelcome thoughts. So I'm just now beginning to think that maybe it's not necessary to be victim to unwanted thoughts or unwanted impulses, etc. That it is actually possible to control them on the basis of one's devotional mind. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Because otherwise, what are you going to do? Put a Maya patch on your arm? So anyway.
Do they make them?
Yeah, you can buy one. You want one?
Yes, please. Give me a box full.
All right. Saraswati. Saraswati.
Yes. 1 second.
Okay. Oh.
Okay.
Just turn off your speaker.
Okay, now. Yes, Maharaj.
All right. So you it was the beginning of this month that your mother passed away?
Yes, 1st of September.
1st of September. And now we're on the 8th of September. Was your mother was she a devotee?
She was Catholic.
Okay. But she took prasadam sometimes?
She took lots of prasadam. Krishna Mohini Didi gave her prasadam from all the holy places, from Jagannath Puri, from Vrindavan, from all the different temples.
I
She was
asked
happy taking prasadam.
I asked because Govinda Maharaj mentioned when we offer shraddha to a person, he said it's necessary to know if that person would accept prasadam or not. So the fact that your mother took prasadam in the past many times means that when she's offered prasadam or shraddha, that she'll be happily accept that. And
She happily took prasadam, definitely.
And especially you and your sisters, you all know, you can all offer prasadam to your mother and she'll accept that, right?
Yes, we are planning to do a Vaishnava Seva on Saturday.
Okay.
I was planning to offer her some prasadam also.
Yeah, some Mahaprasadam.
Yes.
That's good. And the Govinda Maharaj said the important thing is to feed the Vaishnavas in her memory.
Yes.
That's the important thing. So tell us again your mother's name.
Flor Maria.
Okay. So we can ask for the blessings of all the Vaishnavas. That's very nice. We're also doing this for Sureshri. She passed away recently, last Friday. Now Friday today is the 8th and it's then 10th. So Sureshri passed away on the 3rd of September. Okay. So anyway, my dandavats to all the devotees.
Dandavad Maharaj.
To your family also. Okay. Ananta Govinda, Dandavad.
Happy to see you.
Happy to see you too. Rasa Raj.
Dandavad Maharaj.
Dandavad. All the devotees. I'm very fortunate to be able to have your association. We're asked all these questions about how we can continue to engage in devotion. And really, it is through the mercy of the Vaishnavas that we can go on. Gurudev and the mercy of the Vaishnavas. Oh, Tungarasa, I'm seeing you now from...
I am sorry, Maharaj. I am at work, so I couldn't participate so much. But I was following everything.
Okay, very good.
Thank you. Dandavad.
Dandavad. And dandavats to everyone. I'll see you. Hopefully.
Dandavad Maharaj. Dandavad.
Dandavad Maharaj.
Dandavad everybody.
Dandavad Maharaj.
One thing is, I'll see. Maybe we'll see if we do a different date next week. I do have a doctor's appointment, and I don't know. Let me have to see when that is. On Wednesday.
Yeah, Maharaj, just let me know, and if we need to make it another day, no problem.
Okay,
we can do that.
All right. My dandavats to all of you. Dandavad.
Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
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 Dandavad Nityananda.